Decision-making students, this is Dr. Lewis. We want to talk a little bit about some preliminary information that you will need for this course. First, let's look at the visual course description. This is a little different than what you've been used to in your body of knowledge in your other skills courses. So we'll take a look at the skills visual course description for this course, and it will give you just a bit more information about how to use that course description. Then we'll take a look at the scenario in your course, the decision model that we'll be using, as well as our approach to learning for the course. We'll go over very briefly the group roles for cooperative learning in the course, journaling, and assessment. The course description is visual, and the first thing that we hope that it will do for you is give you an image of how the course is going to take place over the 7 weeks that you will be participating in the course. It doesn't look like any of the course descriptions that we have in our other courses, and we did that expressly to show you another way to take a look at learning and to know that learning doesn't have to just be the same format for every course. Instead, for this course, we have something that is much more of an illustration to get your creative powers flowing. Let's look at also the fact that inside of the course description that we have, you'll still find the same exact information that you would find in a traditional course description. It's just presented in a different way. So expect to see there your course scenario, the decision model that we'll use, the weekly learning outcomes, our approach to teaching and an explanation of it, as well as how you will be assessed on the course. The course description, as I mentioned, is a visual course description. And at the very beginning, we have the learning outcomes. Be sure to read those because they give you a good preview of what we're going to be doing. We want you to understand that it's an inquiry-based learning approach. There's a decision model that we will use, and that there's a journal that we're going to write down our steps in. This description in the course description also tells you why we are studying decision making and where it fits in the curriculum. This is a competence-based learning curriculum, and decision making is one of the 8 competences that is taught in our bachelor degree program. We designed this course to be both a course for year 1 and year 2. Obviously, they will be looking at different scenarios, but this skills team is going to be teaching in both of the courses during this school year, and that's a change from what we normally do. So all skills lecturers and all skills team members that are TAs will participate in one way or another in both the year 1 and year 2 courses. Look at the inquiry process and how we will work collaboratively together, and find out about journaling and how journaling will work throughout the course. Then take a look at the weekly planning. The weekly planning is very important because it lets you know what the learning outcomes are, but it also lets you see if there's something important coming up. For example, here there's something important in workshops 2 and 3 between the times that you should be doing to get ready for the next workshop. Read that and understand it. Every week you're working with your group in all of these settings. The same groups will work throughout the quarter together. So be sure that you refer to this to understand what's happening in each of the workshops and to know what's expected each week. The course textbooks are located down here at the bottom of this page. The first textbook is available in the study store, and the second textbook is available online. It's on Springer in the library's electronic files. This is the decision-making model that we will use throughout the course, and the course scenario is located here. This is found also in your journal, but it is also here as well as the important question that you must answer by the end of the course. Our scenario is very much based in the real world, and in fact, it's been inspired by something that we are all very familiar with since the beginning of the Me Too campaign and this idea of sexual harassment. So the course scenario is that at a company known as Banson Partners, there's a managing partner there named Michael Bance. This is an investment management firm, and the work environment there is less than desirable for females. That was discovered by one of their employees, a female named Lisa Bates. Within this scenario, you'll see that Lisa Bates talks about some unfriendly atmospheres that she experiences when she's required to go to, for example, strip bars as part of sort of team building experiences. And what's happening here is that your consulting firm, the Powerhouse Consultants, is going to address the workplace environment at Banson Partners and find a solution so that the company can encourage professional conduct among all of its staff members. In the course, we are expecting you to use a decision model. In this particular course, we've chosen a decision model that is brought to your attention in chapter 6 of the textbook for the course. And this decision model actually is based on 3 different phases: a decision phase, a resolution phase, and a review phase. And we want you to use that decision model throughout your process. There's more information given in a set of slides by the skills line coordinator, Mr. Dahl. You can take a look at those slides, which are going to be available for you on Blackboard, and you will learn more about the decision model and the 7 steps that are involved in this decision process. It's crucial that your entire group review this model and understand it, because you will be using this model as you go through the scenario with Banson Partners, and you're going to need to know and understand where you are in the decision model as you go through the workshops. As I mentioned before, in this course, the learning is inquiry-based, and this may be a new approach for you. So it's important for you to get a little bit of information about what inquiry-based learning means. And you can find those resources again on the Blackboard, but more importantly, some links to it are given inside of the journal that you will be using for the course. I'll talk about that journal in just a moment, but first let's talk about inquiry-based learning. This is a different approach in the sense that it's not your traditional classroom where the lecturer is the one that's giving you the information. Instead, when you come to be with us at the workshops, we're expecting you to do your own investigations and your own research. So this is actually driven by you, the student. You're going to be answering a particular question. That question has been given in your course scenario. And when you're answering that question, you're going to need to find materials and resources that help you understand the larger problem and the framework for the problem. To do that, we've given you some resources and some links to start off with, but you could also on your own research and investigate to find other links. The information is always given to you inside of your journal. There's always a prompt with your journal that you're expected to answer. That prompt has to be answered inside of your journal, and it has to be made available at some point during the quarter to the lecturers on the course, and we'll tell you about that as the quarter goes along. Each week for your workshops, you're asked to do something in your journal. It could require you to do quite a bit of reading. You will have to meet with your student members, and you will also have to write in those journals, sometimes as a group, but also sometimes individually. And so each person will be expected in some points of the quarter to give a response inside of the journal. But there is only one journal, and that one journal is kept by the entire group. Again, expect to have resources such as video clips, graphic organizers, and diagrams. These are for your use, for you to understand where you are in the process and for you to think through the questions that we have for you and to come up with a possible solution for Banson Partners. We expect you to keep copies of these, scan them, make photos of them, and upload them into the journal when you use them. As you're going through the course, you're going to be also in groups. The groups generally will have 9 members, and you're expected to form your group right at the beginning before workshop 1. There's a sign-up sheet on Blackboard for that purpose. You use the group, and your group goes through the decision-making process, because at the end of the 7 weeks, you will also be presenting in that 7th workshop the outcome of your inquiry to the lecturers for a grade, and that's your final examination. So it's important for you to understand that each member has to take one of the 9 roles and play that role throughout your workshops, but also in your meetings with your group that occur outside of the workshops. These roles are clearly defined. You can find them on this slide, but also within the course description. We will also provide on Blackboard additional information about these group roles. This is a sample of the learning journal that you are going to be using throughout the course. I want you to take a quick look at some important aspects of the journal. The first thing I want you to understand is that this learning journal is for you as a group. Therefore, you should get a copy of the journal and put it into a shared environment such as Google Drive, where everyone in your group can take part in writing in the journal. Read the instructional note, which is at the beginning of the journal. And please just notice that in that instructional note, we talk a bit about the purpose of the journal. The first thing to notice is it is not a diary. You are also expected to do things such as consult research information or materials. We might give you the materials, or we might give you materials that you look at and then you have to research further. So the journal is there to help you do that. Realize that you're not supposed to summarize in the journal. It's not about descriptive things. It's about using critical thinking. So you really need to reflect inside of this journal. And remember that we as the lecturers and the teaching assistants only facilitate. Look at the chart together with your group and think about the approach that you are going to be using when journaling. Remember, there's always a topic or issue that you're responding to. You should have explored your own understanding, but you also should question your assumptions. Think about whether there's information that you need clarity for. Is there more information that could be useful for your understanding? Then you need to develop your ideas. Find more resources and find ways to let this explain or to improve your own learning and thinking about the subject that you are talking about. In the journal, there are different things for each workshop. Check to see which workshop you are expected to do the questions for, and then respond to the questions. The questions are in the journal so that you can put a response right there in the journal. There might be a page where you can go to, or you can add it right after. For example, here, what are the challenges that you see in utilizing the inquiry-based approach? This is a group prompt. All the group members should be deciding what the answer should be for this. You only need one answer, an answer that the group has come up with. So you might say, we find the following challenges, and write them down. Over in this box, the most important part of your journal information is there. This tells you where you can go to get additional resources. So you click there and it takes you out to important information on the internet. For example, this gives us information about barriers for decision making. Read through the information, think about what you're supposed to get from it, and reflect on it in the journal, or use it to help you in your decision-making process. Find ways to utilize the information here to help you go through your process with the group. You will notice throughout the journal that there are other resources. For example, graphics. These graphics are there intentionally. They're to help you understand some important aspect of the decision-making process. Take a look at them in your groups. For example, here you see phrases and questions. These are for you to actually think about and respond to. It's not just there to decorate the page. It's there to allow you to think or to use the information. Here's a graphic organizer. You'll find lots of these graphic organizers. Use these to think through your problem and to help yourself come to a solution in the group. Again, check to see whether there's something you're supposed to be doing in relationship to a workshop. For example, should you be looking through these documents because they're useful for workshop 6? You may find some templates in the information. These templates are for you to make a copy of, fill in, and then take a picture of and put back into the journal. Or if you can directly edit them on the page if that's permissible. Always read the tips and use these graphic organizers to help you understand your problem better. Remember, the TAs and the lecturers are there to help you use your journal in a fruitful way, so please consult them if you have additional questions. Keep in mind that the final examination in the course will not be held during the regular exam week. Instead, the final examination is in week 7 of the course. That is to say, the 7th workshop of the course. At that time, your group will present to the lecturers or the TAs your presentation of how your decision-making process went about. You're expected to use the information that you've placed in your journals to explain to the assessors what you have done and your solution and how you plan to implement the solution. We will be giving you some grading criteria that you can use, and we will be assessing you based on that grading criteria. You will have a chance in the previous week in Workshop 6 to practice your presentation before other members inside of your assigned group time. And at that time, you can get some preliminary feedback from the TAs and from also your fellow groups to see how well you're able to explain your decision process and your proposed solution and its implementation. Your final grade will have components that are based on your presentation and on your written journal. Some of those components will be individual, for example, how well you did in your presentation, but some of it will also be group-based. In other words, how coherent was the presentation as a whole, or how coherent is your journal as a whole. Again, that criteria will be provided to you during the course. Best wishes in this course, and we are looking forward to working with you and to seeing your proposed outcomes to the Bands and Partners dilemma. Thank you.